during the campaign, President-elect Trump proposed the largest immigration deportation program the world has ever seen, or something along those lines. And of course, he kept talking about the 20 million illegal immigrants in the country, which, by all official estimates is more like 10 million. But, we won't quibble over the numbers. But the question would be, if he wants to implement deportation, a number of people have raised concerns like, how would you do that? What would it cost? Um, so there's clearly some budget issues surrounding the question of deportation, but then you have also some bigger, broader issues, and that is immigrants to a large extent are doing jobs in the economy. They work in the construction industry, the food processing, agriculture. Those are all sort of consumer products that if you suddenly were missing those workers, employers would be scrambling to fill the gap. And that's going to have an effect on the economy. It's going to have an effect on inflation. If do you guys have any thoughts on, it, setting aside whether it's good or bad policy to suggest we should deport anybody at all, and how many? But obviously, there's the budgetary and economic effects. What do those look like?
One of my concerns is the Congressional Budget Office estimates that U.S. population growth is going to average a little less than 1% for much of the next 30 years. And in fact, by about 20 years from now, the native-born population is actually going to start declining gradually every year. So the only population growth in the country long-term is at this point projected to be from immigrants. People talk about, why can't we get the big economic growth of the 60s and the 50s when the economy was growing 5, 6, 7%? It's because the expanding labor force was driving that growth. You had women in the workforce, you had baby boomers. You need workforce to drive a lot of economic growth. And I worry long term that we may be putting ourselves in a position of a long-term population decline, which means a long-term decline in the number of workers, which means get used to 1 to 2% economic growth and lower living standards forever. Our immigration system is broken and needs to be fixed, but I'm not sure deporting 10, 20 million people is economically wise.
I forget, I don't think this is still true, but there was a time where we recently had 2 job openings for every worker who wanted to fill them. That's come down a bit, but it's still, I believe, north of 1. And so the idea that at a time when we have labor market shortages, we're still, inflation's come down, but it's still a delicate situation, that we're going to be cutting our ability to generate supply and output, and just massive inflationary pressures from such a deportation push. I think it's absolutely insane from an economic perspective.